what I'm really going to hope today is talk about how we deal with information, how we deal with what people tell us, how they try to trick us, and how our brains try to trick us. And moreover, I'm going to ask you most probably to participate and to vote, to have some questions and answers. This is how I look like when I don't have sneakers and I look all polished in Photoshop, so enjoy that, because that's going to be done soon. But those are luckily some of my clients that I work for. Most of the time, I work with leaders of big companies telling them that they're doing their job not correctly. So they hate me at the start, but hopefully then they're lucky that they have me. And I don't know if you can catch by my accent, but I'm from beautiful country of Czech Republic. And Mark talked about getting a glass of wine. I'm pretty sure we invented on the Zoom call when you have a mug and you're pretending to drink coffee and inside it's wine or beer. So thank you, Czech Republic. I'm sort of hoping the next time we can meet there, that will be great. But what I do is I'm a founder of a company called procrastination.com. Who procrastinates here, please? I do too. Okay. For the people who did not put their hands up, I don't believe you. Talk to me later. But by the way, we always thought, hey, if somebody can sell iPhones and be called an Apple, we might as well keep our domain as a name. And it's actually sort of coming from a book that we wrote. It's called The End of Procrastination. And this time, I'm super happy to let you know that it came out in 24 languages. So part of our job as well is to tell people how to be happier in the long term. Not the cheesy 5 steps to be awesome and 7 steps not to give up on your eggs, but pretty much a scientific way of how things can help you. And today I separated into 4 stages, so I hope that you will enjoy. And the first one really is as simple as this. Let's talk about how the world works, how we see it, how we perceive it. And because I'm all about books and behavioral psychology and neuroscience, I'm going to sneak a little bit of how our brain reacts to certain information we are given. And the thing is, the world is full of ideas, full of really bad ideas, full of crazy ideas, but some that are really valid and really great. And me and my team, we're trying to pinpoint the ones that make sense. The quality research, the meta-analysis, the great things that we know work in the long term, put them together and sort of create tools that will help you in the long term. So not only do I hope that you will be able to stay awake and enjoy the presentation, but hopefully take some tools home that you can use on a daily basis. Because let's face it, the better knowledge we have, the better tools we can use, and the better our future. And we can all agree that the life we live in is super uncertain, not only talking about the pandemic, Ukraine, you name it. So we really need to know how to work with information better. And what I understood, and when I met Mark, by the way, I had no idea that something like invoicing or cash to order is and what it's all about. I still don't. But you guys are really responsible for a lot of money, a lot of things that has to be done correctly, a lot of information that come your way. So even more important to understand how to work with them in the long term. And I love quotes that make sense, so I hope that I added some quotes that would resonate a little bit. And my first one, an opening one, is that the problem is not that we don't know enough. The problem is that a lot of what we know is not true. And you know, there is a saying that road to hell is paved with good intentions. A lot of the time, we think we're doing right, we're sharing opinion, we're trying to help, but it's really not working. Anybody ever gave you a recommendation or some good advice, and you were like, you know where you can shove it? I'm pretty sure that person meant well. It's just the execution really wasn't there. And it comes from this idea that a lot of us want to change. A lot of us want something to change, things to be different, things to be better. But when we ask somebody who wants to change, who wants to, work a little bit, learn a little bit, improve a little bit, we're like, I don't have time, I'm really busy. So that's pretty much where I come in. I really hope that I will entice people to want to change, to want to learn, to want to improve. Because we have this feeling, and I think that everybody thinks that this is a company. It's not yours, I promise. I didn't Google any of yours. But this is how the company looks like. Am I correct? Some VPs, some HR, some quality people, finance. But at the end of the day, and please do not disagree with me, this is how the company works, okay? I'll leave it here for a little bit. Love this slide. My favorite, definitely one, the partner who calls the shots, okay? So the boss's wife or husband who's like, oh, honey, not today, don't fire them. I'm going to run away so we can take pictures. I will happily share the presentation with Mark. He can send it to all of you. Feel free to use any of my slides. They are yours. So yeah, when you need to present something to your boss, show him this at the beginning of a presentation. But jokes aside, really all of us have this fulfilled life ahead of us. We're dreaming of just everything going well, everything working in our favor. And sadly, it's the procrastination that comes in. It's this pitfall, we postpone, we don't know what to do, and a lot of the times we want to do something that we're dreaming about, but something stands in our way. And in a very simplification, it works like this. There are things that we want to do, that we should do, and then things we do when we're procrastinating, okay? By the way, people who procrastinate are the smartest and the most creative people in the world. If you can cheat yourself and tell yourself that that's okay and come up with really good excuses in front of yourself, good job. Like, you have to be smart and creative, so be careful about that. But in reality, and we all went to school, it's pretty much like this. We have some tasks, we have some time to do, and then this is a solution, okay? That's life, hey? And then at this point, somebody raises their hand and says, oh, but my mama really worked well under pressure. No, you don't, okay? If you think that you work well under pressure, you're just getting a lot of cortisol. Jürgen talked about it last night. It's a lot of negative emotions. It's a stress inhibitor in our brain that the more and more you work under pressure, the more and more he's just fudging up your brain. So please don't. And again, I like to summarize things in one picture. So procrastination in one picture is this, okay? Religion meets the meteorite, you know, and whatever. So, why do we procrastinate? And why is that connected with everything and with information? It's because we live in a crazy world. If you would talk to anybody 100 years ago and you would tell them, we have shopping malls, you know, we have the Targets, we have the Tesco's, there are thousands of ketchups and juices and everything's there, you can go there, they would be like, oh wow, paradise. Have you ever been shopping past like 10 p.m. where you just need that one thing and then you see the rows and rows and then you finally go to the juice aisle and then there are 70 juices and you're like, I just want orange. You know, so this is life. And it's the beeping of the emails, it's the notifications, it's all the incoming calls, it's all your colleagues being like, hey, can you just help me a little bit? You know, and then it's 2 hours of, you know. So that's the world we live in today. And we have too many options in front of us. Every single second, we have too many options. Am I going to stay? Am I going to go? Am I going to check my phone? Am I going to think? Am I going to have a coffee? And even if all the decisions were awesome, and we were this paradise of a rabbit, you know, just woohoo, field of carrots, we would still endure something that's called the decision paralysis, meaning the more options that we have, the more paralyzed we are. That's why I tell every company that I work with, find your niche, okay? Don't hunt for every business. Don't hunt for every customer. Hunt for that one person. Because if you go to a conference and there are 70 stands, that person already has a decision paralysis. You have to be the one standing out. So it's always important to sort of limit the options. Because as human beings, and again, that's how our brain works, we have a tendency that picking between A or B, we rather do nothing. It's easier for our brain. Yeah? Should I run in the afternoon or should I do yoga? Netflix. Yeah? Urgent emails, urgent meetings, social networks. You know where I'm going with this loop, okay? So it's really important to understand that making the decision and making smarter, faster, and valid and good critical decisions is absolute key. And here comes the critical thinking we're going to be talking about today. It's pretty much the evaluation of given information. It's about how we use them, and it's about what we do with the outcome. Because a lot of the time we're giving an information and we feel like we have to always react. Did anybody ever told you something and you were just quiet? Don't be strange now. I have a really crappy day. No, we feel like we have to react. There comes the idea about how to have sympathy, empathy, how to answer better. There are a million workshops on how to do good presentations and how to speak publicly. There are 0 workshops on listening. I think there should be. We would all really appreciate them. But critical thinking is all about when somebody gives you information, when you read it, when you have to deal with it, and what you're going to do with it in the long term. By the way, Economic Forum voted top skills in 2022 to have critical thinking as a second most important. Of course, problem solving, the one where it's complex, where it's leadership, where it's, those are exactly the thing like dealing with COVID, dealing with all these things that are very ad hoc, very pressuring. But then you see all this people management and cooperating comes third, fourth, fifth, right after critical thinking. Because you can be the perfect part of the team, you can be the best you can, but if you're not using critical thinking, you're lost. And so why is it important? And now I'm thinking, do you know a day in a year where everybody thinks very critically? and is very particular about every single information they're given. It's one day. April Fool's Day, huh? Come on, come visit us at our home, you know, nothing's expecting you there, nobody's gonna jump at you. Honey, we're breaking up, we're getting married, I'm pregnant, whatever. When you wanna prank somebody, it's going to be this day, okay? When somebody posts something on social media, when it's April 1st, you're like, oh, question mark. Oh. When they post it on the 2nd, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm taking it, I'm digesting it. And this is the issue. We should really be as thorough with information we're giving as we are on the April 1st. So please do not just use the April Fool's Day, because this is what happens, okay? And I'm sorry, I'm super against conspiracy theories. Do not tell me about all this chakras and stuff. If you love yoga, that's okay. But until you can give me a scientific proof, a great meta-analysis, or at least 3 leading universities standing behind the research, I'm always going to question where your information is coming from. And please do the same from now on. So make sure that you're getting the information, that you're learning something, that you're striving to connect the dots and get something from it. But do not get into this idea of, ooh, interesting, okay? This should happen. And the more awesome the outcome is, the more the news is. We have this magazine called Plesnik in Czech Republic. I wonder what is the equivalent in the other countries. But it's always like, oh, 9 giraffes died when the driver drove them under a very low bridge. And you're like, wow, 9 giraffes, you know, because the bridge was really low and then the driver drove. And you're thinking in your head, like, you know it's stupid, but you're giving it your place in your brain already thinking about the information. So please make sure that a lot of the time when it sounds too awesome, it's probably not true, okay? And one other thing that comes with this is we have a tendency to be dogmatic. So not only are we coming with the conspiracy theories, we have a tendency to think, ooh, I don't like this information. It just somehow doesn't fit. And we're just sort of pushing it aside, huh? I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I always have to mention it every presentation, every webinar I do. Hi, I'm Adela, I'm a Harry Potter fan. Come to me and tell me it's not the best thing in the universe. Adela's becoming dogmatic, okay? You're not my friend, I'm not listening. We have a tendency to do this. When somebody tells you, your baby is not the cutest baby in the universe, you know, or your mom doesn't cook the best, absolutely dogmatic. I'm okay with those cases. But the moment you're dogmatic to something that's important, when it comes to your clients, your colleagues, your works, your something, when you're feeling like, oh, I really should not be part of this team, I'm really not liking what I'm doing, oh, but I can do it, I can power through, I can something, you're being dogmatic, those should be your flashing lights, okay? So be careful about dogma and conspiracy theory. And let's move towards the how to work with data. How to make sure that we really have this shield protecting us from all the hoaxes, the B crap. Mark allowed me to put that word there, by the way, I asked. And against fake news, okay? Sadly, we're being totally manipulated. If you're on social media, and that can be LinkedIn, that can be Facebook, there are some fake news coming your way, no matter how smart you are. And so we have to have the critical thinking as a shield. And I love the word. I somehow feel like critical thinking slowly and more is becoming one of the strongest values. Because saying, I don't know, I don't understand it well enough, I need to research it, can I come back to you, seems lately like one of the best sentences I've said, especially in the business world. And here comes my quote for this part. It says that people harmed each other most when they were convinced of things that turn out not to be true. And Bertrand Russell, very old guy, very long time ago, very still true to this day, okay? And I'm pretty sure you agree with me, we all did that, we all probably will do that in the future, and most of the time, and that's the worst thing, and that's why I'm gonna end on biases and all those unconscious things, we do it unconsciously. It's not our fault, nobody was born, unless you're a psychopath, nobody was born to be like, oh, I'm just gonna be an a-hole today, you know, I'm just gonna hate everybody. No, we're trying to do our best, but a lot of the times, think about what I said with the intentions. There might not be the best intentions, or they are the best intentions, but the outcomes are not the best. And I will tell you a very easy example of how easy you can manipulate people. It's about the case of a lemon thief. Anybody heard of the case of the lemon thief? Oh, I'm happy. He's my favorite guy, by the way. So a guy robs a bank, full daylight. In the middle of the day, comes to the bank, holds a gun, no cover, no glasses, no masks, no nothing, okay? Pre-COVID, by the way, so no masks. Okay. So he comes, he robs the bank, he says, I want all the money, come and give it to me. What do you think happens? 2 minutes later, police come, they busted him out, and when they say, we're sorry, Mr. Wheeler, but that seems a little bit strange. Like, what are you doing? You're robbing the bank in the broad daylight. What were you expecting? And his answer was, oh, but I wore the juice. Okay, Polly's absolutely puzzled. What do you mean? And our Mr. Arthur Wheeler wrote somewhere that apparently when you put a lemon juice all over yourself in some super dilutic and you buy it from a hipster store online and you pay a lot of dollars, when you put it on you look invisible. And the whole time they were busting him up, he goes like, but you can't see me, what's happening? And he was super confused. And of course, I'm putting the worst example I can, but this is how you can get somebody confused. I tried to read as much as I can into this thing, and by the way, when he said, when they asked him what was the worst, when it comes to, the handcuffs and the police and stuff, he's just like, you know what, I was really afraid that it would be just my eyes floating, so I put some lemon in my eyes too, and it was really scratchy. Critical Thinking Award of the Year goes to Mr. MacArthur Wheeler. So be careful from time to time that you're not the person wearing the juice. And so I get a little break. Let's do a little quiz, okay? I like Friends as well, so that has to go there. Yay! Thank you, Esther. A fan as well. So here are my questions. And please, let's not raise hands because I can barely see you. You're very violet over there, and I'm getting blind, so hey. Let's just yell, honestly, yes and no. Just be brave, get out of your comfort zone. If you suck, that's okay. If you win, that's okay as well. But just yell it. Was Napoleon short? Thank you. I like the honesty. No. The answer is no. But good job still. You all get points. No, he was 5'6". So apparently he was slightly above for the Frenchman. Okay? So, I always thought the same thing. He seems short, no, doesn't he? Somebody said that something else was short of his, but I really can't help you there. But yeah, they dug him up, not so bad. So something that we've heard, no? Napoleon being short, Napoleon complex. Like, come on, we've heard about it. Next question. Did Vikings wear helmets with horns? No. All of you get a point. Good job. No. Wagner, apparently, when he was doing an opera, they were not awesome on stage. They just look like guys with fur. So they gave him horns to be visible in the theater. I mean, we see them everywhere. Look at Netflix. Vikings are now super cool. Like, unless it's Witches or Viking, it's not on Netflix. So you would think that that's it. Historically, no is the answer. Third question. Will it kill someone if you drop a penny from the top of the Empire State Building? No. Yes? No? Yes? Changing your opinions? Different answers? Different questions? No. The answer is no again. Apparently, the speed at which it would hit the ground is 64.4 miles an hour. That's not enough to kill you. It does a little zing, but I do strongly suggest you guys watch Mythbusters. They're not 100% correct. It's still an American show, don't get me wrong. I love Americans, but you have to sort of limit it out. But yeah, so you can't kill them. And again, that's something that I almost wanted to do when I came to New York for the first time. Or spit, because I don't know if it's just Czech people, but spitting from high altitudes. Last question. Do goldfish have a super short memory? 3, 2, 1. No. Yes? I like how some people go, yes, no. We talked of bravery, no, yes, no. We go no? Yeah. Good job, it's no. Apparently, even though they're not the smartest, obviously, I don't know if you ever had a goldfish, like those things are stare. They feel like they know something they don't want to tell you, I don't like fish. But hey, it's apparently 3 months memory. By the way, if any of you will find a way how they tested, I'm buying you beer, vodka, wine, you tell me. I was not able to find it out. But it's a quality research, like it's not just something that I read on the internet. But they measured it, and apparently it's 3 months. But please tell me you've heard that you have a memory as a fish. Okay, one other question on top of this quiz. All the answers were no. Were you at any point forced to say yes because it was too many no's in the row? Yeah, totally, again, human behavior. If you would let 10 people stand and watch some research again where 9 people were cheating the one person, and they were asking obvious questions like, what is 2 plus 2? And everybody kept on saying, 5, yeah, it's 5, it's 5. The one person who had no idea was like, oh my God. We're losing the track of when we are real and when we're in the mass, when we're in this something called the bandwagon effect, when it's too many of us and everybody's coming with an opposing idea, we have a tendency to sort of be succumb to the crowd. So be careful about that. hence the idea why all the answer is no. So no horns, no Napoleon shortage, no dropping your pennies, no fish, okay? Can we agree on that? Good. Perfect. So how to make sure that the quality information that you're getting, how to check what you're getting when it comes to knowledge. A perfect and a very, very simple tool. As I said, I'm very happy to share the presentation, to share the slides. So if you want to have it as a reminder, three easy C's. Challenge the source of the statement. Somebody tells you something, and the more important, not just Harry Potter related, but the more important the question or the information is, the more and more you should research where it came from. Consider any additional information. And that's one thing with informations. We have a tendency to take just the one thing. Harry Potter is the best. Books or the movies? 10 years ago or 20 years ago, okay? We have a tendency to really get stuck on just that one information, that one particular thing. We don't have a tendency to sort of roam around and see. So please consider additional information. And third, come up with another possible explanation. And a lot of the time this is forgotten, but it's very easy. Can there be a simple way? There is something called the Occama razor. By the way, Google razors, information razors. They're literally, if you can think of the word razors, they're to cut the B crap out of all the information. So somebody tells you information A and B, and it's obvious that there is a simple explanation. Probably that explanation is correct, okay? We just have a tendency to like all the puff-up stuff, the drama, the news, the flashing lights. So the more you simplify, the better. If I can help you with something even more practical than the 3 C's, it will be this tool. It's still in the beta version, but it runs very well. I'm so surprised. I've been using it more and more every day. It's free. It's called Consensus. As Wikipedia, you can support them. But it's an evidence-based sort of a finder. So think of Google for good information, okay? You just put whatever you want to talk about COVID vaccines, about mindfulness, about order to cash, whatever you want, and it will only give you quality meta-analysis, data, research, and you can scroll through it. And it's always very unbiased, okay? So it's not, this is the correct answer, but it'll tell you, this is the source. You consider it yourself. And all of you guys, I'm pretty sure, have a massive expertise in something, so feel free to contribute, okay? If you don't feel like something is correct, if you feel like this might not be and might be not right or anything, I talked to somebody about Italian wines being the expert. I talked of Van Gogh, Lego winner, so if you know something about any of those things, add them to it and really try to work for the valid research. And because, as always, I'm closing this part with a quote, we should beware of false knowledge. It is more dangerous than ignorance. And one thing with this quote, I feel like a lot of the time, because our brains like to be easy, they sort of like to be, chill, let's just deal with that. We have a tendency to rather prefer ignorance. So to rather say, I can't be bothered, or I'm just going to go. So please make sure that false knowledge is not good, but neither is really ignorance. Really think of how to have as much critical thinking as possible. So, how not to be the smartest, okay? I don't want all of you now to just be like, oh yeah, I heard this, I'm the best in the universe. I want you to be not the smartest, but more sort of the most excited, most, the person that's all about, okay, I want to learn more, I want to dig more, I want to disagree with myself, and that's really bad. I don't know if ever had to say, I was wrong. I'm sorry. That hurts, huh? I don't know how egoistical you are. I hope you're not, but each of us have an ego at least a little bit. The moment you have to say this, oh, it's like, that's tough. But learning to say that more and more, please, this is a world savior. So what is the problem with when it comes to the critical thinking, when it comes to thinking wisely and sort of non-biasly, is that we all thinking that we have better critical thinking than the others, okay? We just think that we're smarter than the others. We somehow feel our way is the best way. That's okay. Again, it's not your fault. It's your brain. Blame it. But it's something that's called the above average effect. It pretty much means that we have some tendency in our brain to think, because I know myself best, I know I can't be flawed, I know how much I've learned, how much I've experienced, and I feel like I'm a little better. It doesn't mean that you have to be smug and sort of be on top of everybody. It just means that we have a tendency to think that. I'm not going to ask you who feels that way about themselves. I know it's all of us. But be careful about this, because it comes out in one thing. One thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. or we call it the DK because always saying Dunning-Kruger is really long. Anybody heard about guys called Dunning and Kruger? Sorry? I didn't catch that. What did you say?
Dunning invented the Dunning method.
Okay. I thought they went to the party yesterday. I was like, okay. And then, no. They, that was the first time I heard this answer. Okay, you pretty much caught me by surprise. So, no, the answer again. Guys called Dunning-Kruger, what they did, they tested how intelligent they are, how smart they are, how funny they are. They told them to sing songs, to tell jokes, and then they tell them, how good do you think that you performed? You know, how good are you at giving information? And then they tell them, you know what, maybe you're not the best singer in the universe, can you reconsider? And then ask them again where they would place themselves on the graph. Very easily put, what they discovered that the people who tell the worst jokes and are the worst singers think that they're the best singers and the funniest in the universe, okay? And what they come up is the idea that our confidence and our competency, our knowledge of things, is very, very strangely not cohesive, okay? So any information you're getting right now, you're somewhere on this road. I'm all into rocket engines and rockets, okay? So imagine, read about NASA and SpaceX for the first time. I'm right here on the Mount Peak of Stupid. I think I know it all, okay? Because I read 2 articles about something. So I'm the football coach. I'm the most the smartest person about politics. We all like when the politics comes in hand. I understand everything. The more and more I will learn about the given topic, I understand that I have no idea what I'm talking about, okay? So even if you would understand all the cars, all the rockets, all the engines, or the O2C, everything, at some point you will find yourself in the valley of despair. You have the one point where you, oh, this is just too vast. This is just too difficult. And that can be playing the piano, that can be understanding hockey, that can be making conferences because you would think, oh, it's really easy for Mark. He just comes to Budapest for 3 days. That's great, we all meet up. Okay? Then when you realize what all has to go to make the conference, you're somewhere here. And then more and more, the more and more you learn, you're loving it, you really go deep into the subject, you're more on the slope of enlightenment and then the plateau of sustainability. A very few people get to that point. That's where you really have to be a master of something. I do believe maybe in your fields, when it comes to invoicing or when it comes to finances, when it comes to leading the teams, you might be somewhere there, or maybe playing pianos or yoga or whatever you love to do. But a lot of us, and especially the loudest ones, are on the peak of Mount Stupid, okay? So a lot of the time when somebody says, oh, you know, I can sing really well, and then they go karaoke and they sound like you put kittens in the bag and smack them over the wall, they'll be like, oh, I'm the best singer, and you'll be like, oh my God, why did I come here, okay? So please try to remind them that there is something that is called the peak of Mount Stupid, and try to get them out of there. Pretty much the research led to this outcome of an idea that competent people have tendency to underestimate themselves, and incompetent people have the tendency to overestimate themselves. Any of you heard of the imposter syndrome? Any of you have it? Hi, I'm Adela. I have imposter syndrome. I'm not proud, but it's true. So that's us, huh? If you work in some field and you're getting good feedbacks and it's okay and you don't suck and you're doing a good job and you still feel like you should not get out of the bed because you suck, that's imposter syndrome, okay? If everybody tells you, you tell the worst joke and you keep on telling them and nobody's laughing, maybe it's the opposite way around, okay? So please try to think of the Dunning-Kruger or the DK, and as well try to think that we have a tendency to have a group Dunning-Kruger, meaning that the bigger the group, the bigger the tendency to not really be able to acknowledge our situation we are in or the quality, or think of a huge group of people and they would tell you, oh, we're the best team in the universe, we're so cohesive, we have the best boss, everything is great. They would get a prize and they would just feel on top of the world. It's very hard for them to acknowledge that all the teams might be equally good. Okay, and then sort of balance the information. That's all critical thinking. So really make sure with the Dunning-Kruger, you're just aware of how competent you are. And one last quote for this part. The whole problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always certain of themselves, but wiser people are so full of doubts. Social media in the box, okay? If you think that doing this with the makeup and clap, clap, TikTok is great, and you're all there and you're going for it, that's because there are millions and millions of them. If you can count the accounts with the quality information where somebody sits and listens and tells you something, it's super incohesive, okay? The more you're flawed, the more something is easy, the louder or the loudest you are about something, the more I would raise question marks. And how to deal with this? Please always look for the disproof as well as proof. We have a tendency to be stuck in our bubbles. We have a tendency to say, oh yeah, I read this, and we just omit all the other information. Ask someone with a deeper knowledge. That's why I love in companies, people shadow each other. They would ask each other to help. They would ask their opinions, especially if you've been doing something for 10 years the same way. Now it's the time to say, ooh, okay, maybe there is another way to do it. The world is expanding and is growing really fast, so asking somebody for deeper knowledge is a great thing. And as well, acknowledge your limits. The more and more I'm surrounding with myself with people that would say, I just don't know. I don't know that much about the information. Somebody asked me about the Ukraine conflict. Been to Ukraine, I have friends who are Russians. I don't understand politics that well. I would never voice my opinion loudly. I can discuss it quietly with somebody, I can ask his opinion, but I'm definitely not going to be the one yelling at social networks because I feel in a certain way. Of course, I will stand on the right side, but I'm going to discuss it in a very careful manner. And we have a tendencies with more emotions to have louder opinions, so be careful. And the last part, how to see the connections, how to make sure that the data and the information and all of this, how to make sure that it just somehow clicks together. And here comes my probably last question for today. So, sorry. There was a research during the war. There were airplanes flying to the enemy airspace, and they were coming back. And it was, I'm not tricking you here, it was a quality research. And what they tried to do when the airplanes landed back in our territory, they tried to look where they were hit, okay? So those are all the bullet hits that they get from the enemy. They came back, and they were trying to say, which part of the airplane are we gonna enforce in order to make sure more of our airplanes come back? And you can only enforce one part, huh? So you can either do the wings, because then, you know, it will be too heavy if you enforce everything. You can do the navigation, that can help you sort of with better coming back. Or maybe you can protect your pilot better, so then whatever the state of the airplane is, when you have good pilots, they will come back. What would you do? And yell, tell me, I'll leave it up to you. What would you enforce? What would you improve on the airplane so we have more of them coming back? Pilot?
Check the parts, stop them.
Mm-hmm. What else? The engine? Anything else? Navigation? Uh-huh.
Everything not marked.
Everything not marked? Okay, I like the outside of the box thinking. Anything more that you would dig deeper, and I'm talking critical thinking, there's going to be something. So we're talking about the airplanes that came back.
What about the ones that didn't come back?
Thank you. 10 points and 7 beers to whoever that was.
I was me.
Yoo-hoo! A little bit of a trick. Exactly. Thousands of dollars and man-hours lost. They were checking the airplanes that were coming back. They were okay, they came back. I mean, why check the ones that came back? You should have checked the ones that fell somewhere. I know that will be a tough job, but most probably they will tell you that the problem is the perpetulas or the nose of the airplane because they were somewhere there. When you would check something that comes back, it came back. Like, we're fine with that. And this is a perfect example. Please play this with your teams, okay? Just ask your loved ones or your husband or somebody to try to deal with that. It's a very, very old way how to portray to somebody how we think. Because we think that when we have valid research, when we have good data, when we know how to do things, when it comes to war generals and smart people, we're not gonna be flawed. Ding, ding, ding. We are, okay? So whenever you get somebody asks you a question, whenever you get an information, try to first think, where can be a trick, where can be some other ways how to explain. And moreover, where can we be succumb to something called the correlation and causation. So I'm going to tell you one research, it's valid, it really works. It's called the ice cream kills, I kid you not. And it's real scientific proof that drowning per death is more in June and July and August, and the ice cream production is the most in July, June and August. That's data, people. What's wrong with this? You can't tell me that ice cream does not kill. Like, that's obvious. I can state that. I can put that in New York Times. I have data. I'm not tricking you. I didn't draw this. The problem is something called the correlation and causation. And a lot of the times we mistake that, oh, but my grandmother lived to be 99 and she smoked cigarettes every day. That's great. One grandma, pack of cigarettes. Not all grandmas and all packs of cigarettes, okay? So, of course, more people drown because probably not a lot of people swim in January. Not a lot of people eat ice cream in January either, okay? So hence, a lot of ice cream, a lot of drowning people, but not a way to go in the news tabs and say, ice cream kills. So be careful when you're reading data and when somebody presents you data, because what people have a tendency to do is pretty much have this pattern illusion, like a pigeon, you know? Just looking for the information that we want. They want some tabloid, they want something awesome, they will go for the ice cream kills. That's your airplane, that's your ice cream, that's your pigeon. Remember all three of them, that's your tool to make sure that you're omitting this. And I'm closing this part with biases. Ooh, Mark, the time it's scary, huh? I have 9 minutes, I can do this. How to work with biases, because even when you're smart, when you put all this 3 C's, when you have all the research tools, when you understand the pilots and the Napoleon shortage and all this, you would still have a bias, something in your brain, a little thing in your brain that fudges everything up, something that's your enemy, and you have to overcome it on a daily basis. But pretty much, it comes to a very easy thing. We all have a perception of the world. And a lot of the time, instead of saying, oh, I'm seeing from my point of view that it's 6, and you're saying, oh, I'm seeing here from it's 9, it would just be 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, okay? We don't have the tendency to explain things. And as well, we're pretty much succumb to something that is called the confirmation biases. The fact that we would rather prefer the comforting lies than the unpleasant truths. That's exactly coming back to saying, I don't know, I was mistaken, that was my fault, I didn't know better. Because we perceive the world in a certain way, their information, we're observing it, we're creating opinions. Even if you have an identical twin, and there were studies done on identical twins who lived every day together, who were really twins, they still have different opinions. They would still see world in a different moments. They would take something different. And what happens is, then in the future, we have a tendency to pinpoint those things. You like Republicans or Democrats. You like this part of the hockey team. You like this book. You like this movie. And we have a tendency to only look for the information from that one part. And then that makes us and them. Okay? If everybody disagreeing in the world would have a chance to sit down and talk and discuss it, I do believe 99% of them would agree on one thing, or at least find some common ground. But we have the tendency to surround ourselves with just the group of people. You know, you break up with somebody, oh, she was such a bitch. Oh, yeah, she was. Oh, he was a terrible guy. Yeah, let's get a beer, okay? And you're just widening the gap for no reason. But again, blame your brain, not yourself. Our brain loves it, because it works like this. It's just easy. It's just super easy. Rather than, you know, just sort of having to deal with it all, it's like me. Remember talking about dogma? That's exactly what it is. It's pretty much called the ostrich effect. A funny note here, if anybody tell you that ostrich put their heads in the sand, it's not true. But hey, it's still called the ostrich effect. It's when you bury your head in the dogmatic way, when you don't want to see things, when you're just sort of pretend that doesn't work. So please, my summary from here, don't be dogmatic. Just sort of be okay with saying, I suck. Own the sucking majorly? That sounds really wrong. Okay, I'll think about that for the next presentation. Just suck from time to time, it's okay. But okay, never mind. Accept that you cannot do and know everything. It's okay, nobody expects you to do that. Apparently in 1769, there was a last guy in the world who knew it all. So that ship has sailed, okay? We're just okay, we're just being flawed. And please look and try to look for things outside of your comfort zone. You were mistaken, you didn't know, go out there, say that you don't know, and just, you know, life is full of, like a box of chocolate. So try to discover all of them. Not the coconut ones, though. Okay, one other bias, affinity bias. Our tendency to think that we all look alike and surround ourselves with people who are alike. First of all, we're not. And what affinity bias does is that it makes you try to be like the person you are. Copy-paste does not work all the time, okay? That's why I preach authenticity more than anything. Want to wear sneakers? Wear sneakers. Want to be crazy? Be crazy. Love Harry Potter? Do whatever you want, nicely, with respect and with kindness. But please be original. Because this affinity bias, part of our brain really wants us to be surrounded by people like us. We trust them more. We trust the reflection in the mirror. And a lot of the time it ends up like that, okay? I'm sorry to the gluten-free people. I teach inclusion and diversity, so I respect you, but for most of you, okay. So that's the problem, yeah? We would just sort of, we're much better part of the herd, part of the tribe. So be unique, do not copy and paste, work on your authenticity. Look for people with different opinions, look for diverse people, look to be in the group that you totally don't belong to. You don't know how to play chess, go to the chess club, you know. Bad at soccer, go to a soccer game. If it's just once, that's okay. It's gonna broaden your horizons, and that's what we need. And I think this is the last quote, if I'm correct, and of course it's from my mom. It says that if you're the smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room. Amen to that. If you keep on going to the same pub and everybody's like, oh yeah, John, you're so smart, we love you. Maybe that's the wrong pub to be in, okay? Go somewhere where you're gonna learn something. I don't know if my mom is the source of this quote, but she kept on saying that, so I'm critically thinking a claim gonna say that was my mom. Hi, Mom. Anyway, so please try to think of how we can always broaden your horizons. And 3:45, I should have put deodorant on my back as well, but I can do it. The summary for today, and I hope it was not too much after the drinking and partying last night, but my summary is a homework for you to do from today. Very easy. Number one, please don't be dogmatic. And if somebody is, just tell them, I think that you're a little bit dogmatic. Can there be some, they would probably go and Google what dogmatic is, then they will come back to you, and they would say, I'm not. So you will tell them about the Dunning-Kruger, then they will come back, say, ooh, maybe. And when they get out of the mount of stupid, they would be okay. So hold on there. Seek for the quality information and for the good sources. Okay, really try to look for the valid information, go to consensus, reach out to universities, and the more important the information or something that you have to do with it, the more you search. Acknowledge the Dunning-Kruger, and acknowledge that we have the group Dunning-Kruger. The more of us are, the more as we're doing something all together, the more we can be flawed. Look for the feedback and be open to it. This is one thing that I'm always trying to apply in companies as soon as possible. And it doesn't have to be a pat on the back or we're all great, you know. Hey, Kelly, this is awesome. You're awesome too, like. No. I love the presentation. Could have been shorter. You're speaking a little fast. I wish you would prepare this. Great, thank you. I will improve. Not perfect. I will go home. I will look through the presentation. I will improve it for the next time. It's really okay. If you say it nicely, if you say it kindly, if it's objective feedback, it's more important than anything. Look for proof as this proof. We talked about it. Keep learning. An absolute core. I feel that the moment you stop reading, stop learning, at least for each 3 books of Lord of the Rings and some craziness in romance novels, try one book where you're learning something. And please, learn how to say, I don't know. It's great. It's a great sentence. It would really save a lot of our butts. And I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying that to myself as well. It's just as easy as that. I don't understand it well enough. And if you hate me for that, well, good job. You'll go home hating. I'm fine not to know everything. It's impossible. And sort of, please be inspiration. Hold yourself accountable first, and then ask same thing from others. If I fail and I can work it out, if I can, fudge something and I can work around it, I can improve, others can as well. Because it comes to a very easy thing when it comes to companies and when it comes to business life, and that's what I'm coming back to. If we are creative, if the creativity works, if we have great teams, if we inspire each other, take care of each other, and we have the critical thinking, we can deal with the information, the innovation just comes naturally. Because you know where you fail, where you need to improve, you have new ideas. Please tell me that you agree with this. Yeah? A very simple equation. And the last quote. The first principle is that you must not fool yourself. And you are the easiest person to fool. And before I end all of this, 45 seconds, you have 33 seconds to please just think about one key message from today. You can write it in your phone or you can just think about it. One thing that you will take from my presentation, and I'm hoping at least one thing that can stay with you, being the airplanes, the pigeons, the Napoleons, the critical thinking, whatever it is. I'm giving you 6 seconds to think about it. One thing that you will take home. Closing on this quote. Thank you so much, guys. I have 12 seconds. 11. Thank you. Thank you for today.